record an application called WebTools, and in WebTools a business scenario called flight booking, correct? And in flight booking we just open the application URL, then login, then click on flights, then search flight, then select flight, make payment, then do log out, where we have recorded launch URL and login in vUser init, then remaining steps in action part and logout functionality has recorded in vUser end, right? And then we replayed the script and we saw some errors, some failures. But before that, before validating that error, now we have to check the recording options. Before start recording any business scenario, I can say any test case or workflow, first we have to check the recording options. First we have to check the recording options. Now let's cross check on the recording options. What are the different recording options are there? Now what each recording option will do, will cross check. Okay, now I'm just clicking on the recording options and see what happens. So it will open the recording options. All right. Now the first one is, so let's go back here. So let me change this font size little bit bigger. So everyone can visible, right? The recording options now. So the first one, recording options shortcut key. Recording options shortcut key is Control F7. Now go back to the Vusion. Now let me close this. Now let's say Control F7. Now it opened the recording options. So this is the shortcut key of recording options. So recording option shortcut key is Control F7. Now the first option in the recording options called recording. Second one is script. Third one is protocol. Fourth one is code generation. Fifth one is configuration. Sixth one is rule. Seventh one is advanced. Eighth one is mapping and filtering, chain configuration, and code generation. So the same thing here we place it there. So the first one is general. Under general, recording, script, protocol, code generation. In correlations, we saw that configuration and rules. Then HTTP properties, advanced, network, mapping and filtering. In data format extension, chain configuration and code generation. Now let's see, the first one is recording. So recording contains two types of recording options called recording modes. In the recording, so it contains two options called recording modes. Two types of recording modes. One is HTML based mode and second one is URL based mode. First one is HTML based mode and second one is URL based mode. HTML mode and URL based mode. Now let's go back to Vusion and see that first one, recording. A recording contains HTML based script. Second one is URL based script. And HTML based script again contains HTML advanced and URL based script again contains URL based, I can say URL advanced. Okay, now let's see that HTML based advance. Now let's go back to our class. Now HTML mode contains two advanced options. One is a script contains user actions. A script contains explicit URLs only. Now if you go back to here, now if you click on HTML advanced, if you see a script contains, I can say a script describing user actions is the first one. Second one is a script contains explicit URLs only. What is this? What is those two differentiations? So what do you mean by HTML? Means the HTML pages. Okay, so the HTML request which contains, I can say, if the user perform the actions, I can say user actions, where it will generate a functions, I can say that called as load runner functions called web underscore link and web underscore submit underscore form. A script contains explicit URLs only means where it will generate web underscore URL is the function, and next one is web underscore submit underscore data is the functions, load runner functions. I can say those are load runner web functions. Load runner web functions. Next one, non-HTML generated elements. What are those? Non-HTML resources are called the image files or JavaScript, ActiveX controls, and VBScript and applets. But most of the times, non-HTML resources called are image files, JPG, PNG, right? GIF files, right? Those are how you want to capture those. Record within the current script step, which means record those non-HTML resources, image files in the same request, or record separate steps using concurrent groups, which means record a separate groups for non-HTML resources. I can say for image files, record a separate groups. Next, last one, don't record means I don't want to capture the image files. Then you can select the last option. You can select the last option. Okay, now let's see that now. Alright, so non-HTML resources are captured using name called extra arrays, and non-HTML resources are PNG, JPG, JS, CSS, WOF. How you want to capture non-HTML resources? You want to capture it in the same request, or record in separate request using concurrent groups, or don't record. But what is the always selecting option? So we have to select always record within the current step. Okay, and if you see here in these two options, which option we have to select? Means always select a script contains explicit URLs only, where it will generate web underscore URL and web underscore submit underscore data. Okay, everyone? So are you clear on HTML based mode, where it contains a script contains user actions, a script contains explicit URLs only. That's the second option. And the non-HTML resources, you have to select always record within the current step. Okay, and let's see the URL based mode. Let's go back here and see. So now I already selected during the recording. I selected a script contains explicit URLs only and record within the current script step. Click on OK. Now let's see the URL based mode. Now, if you see in URL Advanced, you can able to see two options. One is create concurrent groups for resources after their source HTML page. Create concurrent groups for the resources after their source HTML page. And the next one is use web underscore custom underscore request only. Now let's see these options, what it means. Now in URL based mode, it generates a functions called web underscore URL and web underscore submit underscore data and web custom request and web underscore concurrent underscore start and web underscore concurrent underscore end functions. Okay, these are the function it will generate when you select URL based mode. Now let's see what is the difference between HTML and URL based mode. First we have to know that part, right? Now let's see that first one. Now the first one, context dependency. Context dependency. Now HTML mode performs context based recording, whereas URL based mode is free from context. That is nothing but contextless recording. So since the resources are separated by individual request in URL mode, so there is no context dependency between them. Why? Because for each and every request it creates, I can say for each and every activity, it creates a separate request in URL based mode. So I'm sorry. So that is the reason. So in URL based mode, there is no dependency between the requests. Why? Because it creates a separate request. And let's see the next one, resources. In HTML mode, the page resource like image, CSS, I can say JPG or PNG, so are recorded in single request, whereas individual requests are created for each resource in URL mode, which means in URL mode it creates a separate request for non-HTML resources. Next one, user action. In HTML mode, each user action belongs to one request, whereas URL mode, multiple requests are associated with one action. Depends on the number of resources available on the page. Okay, and let's see next one, script size. The size of the HTML mode script is comparatively smaller than size of the URL based mode script. Why? Because so in non-HTML resources, I can say the reason is in URL based mode, each resource has a separate request. So that is the reason the length of the code will be more in URL based mode when compared with HTML based mode. And correlation efforts, In HTML mode, script requires less effort than URL mode script to correlate the dynamic values. And resource download during the replay. Resources are downloaded during replay in HTML mode, but in URL mode, individual request triggers, I can say, for each resource, hence resource downloading is not required. Execution speed. So HTML mode script is slower than URL based mode due to parsing of code. Script maintenance. The maintenance of the script is less in HTML mode. In other hand, URL mode, the script require more maintenance and rework due to changes in the application. Explicit support. HTML mode support explicit URL, whereas URL mode does not support explicit HTML. And used for HTML mode is for browser based application, whereas URL based mode is non-browser, I can say thick client applications. Comes to functions. In HTML mode, web submit form is used, whereas in URL based mode, web submit data, web underscore image are used, whereas in URL based mode, so web concurrent start, web concurrent end, web custom request, these are the functions, various functions it generates in URL based mode. Now let's see in our script, so what are the functions it generated in HTML mode. Now let me cancel this. Now in HTML mode, I can say let's go up. What are the functions it's having? And web submit data functions, correct? Now let's come here. Now let's see the functions. First one, so this is the first function, web underscore URL. So a web underscore URL contains name of the request. This is the name of the request and the request URL. Target frame. So target frame is nothing but this URL belongs to on which target frame. Resource equal to 0, which means it won't re-download the extra race. And content type. What is this request content type? Either it text or HTML. Referrer. Referrer is nothing but if any reference URLs are there, then those it shows in the referrer. Snapshot is nothing but each request contains a snapshot number. Each request contains a snapshot number. And a mode, HTML mode. And extra arrays. So non-HTML resources, I can say this is the favicon.ico. This is nothing but non-HTML resource will be recorded under the extra arrays. And the next attribute called last. So in web underscore URL, the first one is name of the request, followed by URL, followed by target frame, resource, the content type, referrer, snapshot, and mode, followed by extra arrays. And let's see the next function. What is the next function? It generated web underscore submit underscore data. Correct? Web underscore submit underscore data. Now if you see web underscore submit underscore data, the first one is showing up the name of the request. Second one is action contains URL. But in web underscore URL, it's showing as URL. But in submit data, action treated as URL. And in web submit data, it shows a method, additional attribute, mode additional attribute called post method. So this we can discuss in the web services concepts. What do you mean by post method? And target frame, content type, and if you see the referrer contains the referrer URL. Correct? And snapshot and mode, and web submit data contains item data. Item data is nothing but where we are giving some input data. Input data means where we are entering some data in the application, right? For login, we are giving input data called username as Jojo and Bean. Am I correct? Which means whatever input data we have given, that input data will be captured in item data by using a function called web underscore submit underscore data. Okay? Any confusion, guys, on web underscore URL and web underscore submit underscore data? Now, if you see, if you go back to in the action also, if you see in any request, if you take any request, so here, if you see where we have given the input data, right? London, departure date, arrival city, departure, I can say return date, where you can see the web submit data, where item data will contains our input data. Am I correct? Even if you see the credit card info also, it shows as web submit data, where you can see our all first name, last name, address, all item data. So all input data will be available in item data. Okay? Any confusion, guys? Everyone? Okay. Now let's see the URL based mode. As of now, it's web underscore URL and web submit data function. Let's say in URL based mode, what are the functions it generates? It generates web underscore URL, web submit data, web custom request, web concurrent start, and web concurrent end. Correct? Now let's go back to the script. How I can change my script from HTML based to URL based mode. Now I have recorded my script in HTML based mode, right? How I can convert this HTML based into URL based mode? Called, there is an option, regenerate your script. Regenerate your script, which means once you recorded your business flow, you can regenerate your script n number of times. N number of times. So that's, if you see here, regenerate your script. The shortcut key is Control Shift R. R is nothing but regenerate. Now click on regenerate. Again, it will show the recording options. If you see here, options. Now click on the options. You can able to see again recording options. Now I'm going to select is URL based mode. In URL advanced, I'm just using concurrent groups and web custom request. Now let's see the first option, then followed by web custom request. Now click on OK. Now click on OK. It will regenerate the script. See, generating the user script. Now just close this report. This is not required. Now go up. Now if you see control home, so web underscore URL, web underscore URL, if you see web concurrent start, correct? Web underscore URL, web concurrent, web underscore concurrent underscore end. If you see images, so HP logo.png, correct? If you see image files, webtools.png, so web concurrent start, web concurrent end. Now if you see here, mere login.gif. Now these are the so unwanted URLs, so we have to delete. Now let's see the login request. Now if you see web submit data, correct? So in web submit data, item data is there, but if you see the image files, intro equal to, see where are various requests you are seeing, right? When compare with HTML based mode, sign off.gif file, itinerary.gif, all this, right, in home.gif. Okay, just 2 minutes guys, I will be back. Okay, the mode, so where you can see that web concurrent start, web concurrent end. So what do you mean this web concurrent start and web concurrent end? Say for example, I have a 5 set of requests. In 5 set of requests, so first 3 requests has to execute at the same time. Then remaining 2 requests has to execute in sequential manner. In that case, this web concurrent start, web concurrent end will help you. If you keep those 3 requests in between web concurrent start and web concurrent end, then those 3 requests will be executable in parallel. Okay, and now if you see there, same hover, so let's come down. I have 10 requests. In 10, first 3 requests has to execute in sequential, and 4 to 7 has to execute in parallel, and 8 to 10 request has to execute again sequential. Then so first 3 requests, then give web concurrent start. Okay, most of them are non-HTML resource. So web concurrent start function you have to place, then followed by 4, 5, 6, 7 requests, then web concurrent end. Then these 4 requests will be executable parallelly. 4 requests will be executable parallelly. Okay. All right, and next followed by 8, 10, 9, 10 request, where those 8, 9, 10 requests will be executable in sequential manner. So that is the reason. So in the interview they may ask this kind of question. So I have 10 set of requests. In 10 set of requests, 3 has to execute in sequential. Then 4 to 7 request has to execute in parallel. Then 8 to 10 request has to execute in sequential. Then what is your approach to perform that kind of activity? Then you have to explain like this. You have to explain like this. So first 3 requests will be executable is sequential. Then we have to place web concurrent start, followed by 4, 5, 6, 7 requests. 6, 7 requests, then web concurrent end. In that case, those 4, 5, 6, 7 requests will be executable in parallel. Okay guys, so like this you can see the difference between HTML mode script and URL based mode. If you see in URL based mode, you see the length of the code will be more. If you see how many lines are there, code, 920 lines, sorry, 912 lines of the code, correct? And if you see in the action, how many lines of the code will be? Let's see that. 162 lines. And you can see in viewer end how many lines of the code will be there. In viewer end, how many lines? 37 lines. And in viewer init, now let's say 912 lines of the code, correct? But when I generate the script, when I regenerate by using HTML mode, my script length will be minimal when compared with URL based mode. If you see the differentiation in here, script length, where is that? Script size. The size of the HTML mode script is comparatively smaller than size of URL based mode, right? So in HTML mode, the size of the script will be less compared with URL based mode. Okay, right guys? So like this, so it will generate various functions. So you have to learn what are the functions the script while generating the script using HTML based mode as well as URL based mode. So you have to by heart web underscore URL, web underscore submit underscore data, web underscore concurrent underscore start, web underscore concurrent underscore end, and web custom request. So we'll use one more option. So we'll regenerate, and when you click on options and you see in URL based mode there is one more option called web custom request. So when you click on web custom request and click on OK, click on regenerate. Now instead of web submit data, it picks web custom request. It picks web custom request. Okay. Let it generate. Right. Okay, no problems. Somehow it's keep on generating the revision script. What happens? documents, and oh, it's not there. I guess I have kept in D drive. Now open the script. See, so all are showing web custom requests only. Correct? So why? Because I have selected web custom request function as well in URL based mode. Okay, so like this you can see the differentiation. So you can record your application using HTML mode and regenerate your script using URL based mode and see the I can see, I say what I'm trying to say is just see the comparison and see the differentiation, what are the various functions it generates. Okay, so that's about, I can say, the recording options. In the recording options called, so recording, the recording is, this is when the question is the HTML based mode and URL based mode. Okay, so you can by add those differentiations which I will share in our class notes. Okay, next one, and protocols. Protocol, whatever protocol we have selected during the script creation, I can say we used to generate the script name, right? So there, whatever protocol we have selected, it shows that protocol. Then code generation. Code generation, it's showing as correlation scan, asynchronous scan. So for time being, just enable correlation scan. Then in the further classes, I will explain what do you mean by correlation scan. Okay, and configuration, just in configuration, so there are various options are there. Rule scan, automatically correlate values found, record scan, replace scan. So this also I will tell you in the next class. What do you mean these options? When the, when the, I can say the activity will come, the next step will come. So then I can explain what are those options. Then rule also, rule, code generation, configuration, rule. This I can explain in tomorrow class. Okay, we have to take separately those three options. Then HTTP properties, advanced. Okay, so you have to enable generate web bridge find function for page title and support charset. What do you mean by generate web bridge find function for page title? Means each and every page having a title, I can say page name. So generate that page name by using a function called web underscore bridge underscore find. So support charset UTF-8, this is by default. Okay, and mapping and filtering also important. So there are network capture levels are there. There are three types of network capture levels are there. One is socket level data, another one is WinNet level data, and then third option is both socket level as well as WinNet level. So the first one is socket level data, second one is WinNet level data, third one is socket as well as WinNet level data. Now let's see those differentiations. So what are those three differentiations? It's not there. Let me check. Have explained. How come I have missed out? Okay, no problems. Let's go up here. Now, if you see here, the difference between socket level, WinINet level, as well as socket and WinINet level mode. So, if you see the socket level, the native socket API developed by Micro Focus, I can say for load runner, is to capture, is to interact with, record the request traffic, various application level protocols like HTTP, FTP, along with port mapping is relevant. Okay, so there are various port mappings are there, so that also we can see. When it comes into the WinINet level recording, the WinINet API developed by Micro Focus, I can say Microsoft, is used to interact with, record the request and traffic, the various application level protocols at specified port. Here, port mapping is not relevant. If we select WinINet level mode in load runner, so load runner records the traffic that is generated by the application which uses the WinINet API to communicate to the servers. If we select socket level, Vusion captures the traffic on the socket level at the specified port. Okay, so that is the major difference between this socket level as well as WinINet level. Let me use this and keep here in our notes. Okay, these are the differentiation, I can say the socket level and WinINet level. So most of the times we used to use WinINet level mode only. Now if you go back to WinINet level mode, I can say recording options. So if you see in the socket level where you can click on options, you can see the SSL versions, where there are various SSL versions are there. So this SSL version will be detected by default based on the application, which SSL version the application is using. Okay, if you see here in the script also, you can able to see the SSL version. If you go up the first request, it's not okay, URL based mode, right? Let me regenerate into HTML based mode. Now let me close this recording report. Now if you see, we run it. If you see website socket options, correct? So it's showing as SSL version by default auto. So like this, it uses various SSL versions. Okay. So like this, you can just go through the recording options, various recording options. Okay. And just regenerate your script using the different options. First, record your application workflow using HTML based mode. Then you can regenerate using URL based mode and see the comparison. Okay, what is the various request will be captured. I can see it will be showing in the URL based mode. All right, and you can just go through the difference between HTML based mode and URL based mode. What are the various functions it generates? Okay, in HTML mode as well as URL based mode. And you can just navigate each and everything and filtering. Data format extension is not required, so you can just skip that part. Okay, all right. So so if we replay our script, the script will fail. So let me delete unwanted URLs. These are unwanted URLs we don't require. These are unwanted URLs. Let me delete. If you replay your script, our script will fail. Right? Yesterday, I can say on Friday Saturday it got failed, right? Today also it got failed. And you can just maximize this and see what is the error. Error is text web tours not found for web rich find, and just click on this where it shows the error. Which request it's showing the error? Web submit data login request. Correct? Web submit data login request. Now, why it got failed? What is the reason for that failure? Now, if you go back to screenshot and if you see the first page, so first page is nothing but a launch URL. Launch URL successfully we got the page, but when comes into the login, we did not get the proper page. See, you have reached this page incorrectly, which means we have not got proper page for login. Why? Because so in login, I can say not only login, if your request got failed, first you have to check, cross check. Okay, what is the reason for that failure of that particular request? Is there any values or any new values are captured in the request apart from user input data? So what are the user input data we have given for login? What is the input data?
Username and password and URL.
That only, right? Now if you see here, we just given username and password, but is there any new values apart from username and password it contains?
Is some ED item, end item is there.
No, this is fine. This is fine. I'm talking about only value. Value is nothing but our input data. So we just given username is Jojo and Bin. Apart from, is there any input data we have given in this request? I can say for login.
After click login.
Yeah. But can you see, is there some new value we are seeing here? 13033 value is captured here, correct, from input data. So that kind of new values called as dynamic values. Such kind of new values called as dynamic values. So we have to handle these dynamic values by doing the correlation. So the next concept called correlation, which is very, very, very important in the scripting phase. If you are not doing proper correlation, your script will not success. In tomorrow, how values we have to correlate, correct? We have identified this is the new value. Now we have to correlate this value. You may ask, what do you mean by correlate? That also we can see in our tomorrow class. What do you mean by correlation? Why we have to do the correlation? All right.
Okay.
So any confusion or any questions, guys?
Today class and the classes, the class session, please share.
Yeah. I guess except Mohan, for remaining candidates, I shared all the recorded links. But let me.
Yesterday, 26th class and today class. The two I didn't receive. Nobody received, I think.
Let me cross check. Google Drive.